Hey, what's up? How's it going, Stephanie?
Hi, Ben. How are you?
I'm doing well. So great to talk to you. Thanks for, coming on and taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Just shout out to everybody who's watching. What's up? My name is Benjamin Earl Turner, and I play Earl on the show Blindspotting. Um, in my show, I play a character who serves time for a non-violent offense of having cannabis, and then is reincarcerated after sort of a really bogus run-in with parole issues. Really a technicality. So, I'm really thankful to have the opportunity to speak with Stephanie Shepard. Stephanie served 9 years of a 10-year sentence for a first-time nonviolent weed charge. Um, she's out in in whatever sense that means when once you've been sort of marked by the carceral state. Um, but Stephanie works with the Last Prisoner Project, which with Blindspotting, we were really excited about being able to partner with them in any way and sort of cast a light on the work that they're doing. It's an organization that's fighting to free every prisoner still serving time for cannabis and to support and expunge the records of those who are released. Stephanie, that's cool. Is that the right frame for our conversation?
Yes,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
definitely it.
Cool. 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 So yeah, I guess we can just sort of get started with what what sort of felt resonant for you about the show and your own experience as well as the work you're doing with Last Prisoner Project.
Well, first, I want to say job well done. I absolutely saw myself in season one
Well,
when Earl is running desperately trying to make it home
mm,
to uh, meet that deadline, that time. Um, I've been there, and
mm,
it's almost the anxiety of walking through life that way is really. You did a wonderful job portraying that. I was watching it, and I felt like every heartbeat with you
mm,
because the feeling of life happening around you, you're doing what you're supposed to do, and life happens, and things outside of your control
mm,
happen.
mm,
But traffic isn't just traffic when you are in a position like I was in, or Earl, or so many other people. Um, you don't have the luxury of being on the light rail and it breaking down,
mm,
or your phone going dead and you can't call in to let them know you're not going to be where your ankle monitor is saying you should be.
mm,
And that panic that sets in. So I was right there with you running,
mm.
and it was just a wonderful job that you did. So
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Really, it's sort of special to be able to like try to cast the light on or bring attention to a very normal thing. Can you talk about just how normal that is? Because I think my my suspicion, I guess, is that that seems like the anomaly. Like that, oh, but that doesn't really happen, right? Like, you would just, and can you kind of talk about just in some of your experiences or what you've seen, where it's like that's how frequent is that, or how regular or normal is that? Um,
it's a daily basis. I served my sentence, and I served the majority of that sentence, but honestly, I don't even consider it just serving that time locked up and
mm,
incarcerated. I was on pretrial for a year before that. So
wow,
that's a year of your life that anything can happen because you're technically in custody on
wow,
supervised release at that point. Um, then doing the time. Okay, time's done. I'm home. Now you have a new set of obstacles that you
mm,
have to jump through. So I will say it is a daily, uh, there's daily reminders
mm,
that I am still being um, still being held. I also have a 5 years probation.
Wow.
So I'm in year 3 of that.
Wow.
So just being able to do the normal things, like driving, I'm licensed, I'm insured, but when that cop pulls up next to me, who knows
Mm.
if he's going to want to pull me over. Now I've had interaction with the police. So
Yeah.
now I've got to report that to my probation officer. And depending
Wow.
on what kind of mood they're in that day, as you know, with Earl's character, I love
Yeah.
the banter back and forth with your probation officer or your parole officer, but um, that's rare. That's the
Yeah.
rarity,
Okay.
is where
Okay.
they have a heart and he wants you to actually stay on the straight and narrow, is the feeling I get.
Mm.
But that's rare. Um, Prison is a repeat business, and
Wow.
they want you back, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Is that something that you learned um after the process or of being incarcerated, or was it something you noticed in being incarcerated? Because I also the thing that, is is heartbreaking to hear is like 10 years is a long 9 years is a really that's a significant amount of time. And I think it's it's heartbreaking regardless when people have to go away, particularly for nonviolent offenses. Um, but that's a chunk of time. Is it in that time where were you seeing people like, oh, they're back, or was it a thing of, okay, I see that every aspect of this is built in a way to sort of draw me back. I'm just curious about how you started to form your paradigm and your politic around these particular things, because everyone who goes through that doesn't necessarily start working to free incarcerated people.
Right. Um, Getting out was just that first step. Um, get out, go to the halfway house. So I was at the halfway house by Lake Merritt for a month.
Or wow.
Um, and in that time, I volunteered at St. Vincent's, downtown, down by, I can't remember what street it's on, but volunteered there. And because I chose to volunteer instead of work, and they're not getting any money from me, you have to pay a percentage of your check to the halfway house.
Wow.
So because I chose to volunteer instead of get a job, they let me go home on home confinement. I was of no use to them.
Wow.
So I went home on home confinement with my ankle monitor. Um, I decided that I needed to do something
Mm.
and advocate and be that voice for people who are serving such horrendous sentences. Life for a non-violent cannabis charge.
Mm.
That to me just blows me away.
Mm.
Um, Kevin Allen is serving life. Michael Woods is serving life. Ricardo Ashmead is serving 22 years. He's on his
Wow.
14th year.
Wow.
But when I got home and I had to go and report to this office every couple days, and I'm driving down the street my first time and I see a billboard and said fire AF, we deliver. And I asked my
Uh,
sister, I said, what is that? And my sister, she didn't even want to say what it was,
oh,
but it was a delivery service billboard.
wow.
While I'm still jumping through these hoops, there's this billboard.
Mm.
So as I get in the industry and start working with Last Prisoner Project, I start going to events where I see deals being made and I see money being made. And unfortunately, the people in those rooms don't look like us.
Of course.
But
Right.
the people incarcerated look very much like us.
Mm. And
So
then,
that's when I decided I can't just say, okay, I'm going to go on with my life when
mm,
I know what Parker Coleman is feeling on any given day, serving a 60-year sentence,
wow.
when it's the same plant that you can have delivered to your front door.
And do we know how many people are serving time for cannabis right now or for cannabis related charges in America right now?
It's very difficult to find that information out. Our system, our correctional system, is very archaic in the
Uh,
way that they present um, charges and information. So what we last can count is tens of thousands, maybe
mm,
upwards of 40,000 or more.
wow.
Um, and that's a lot of people. We're not talking about 4 or 5 people. That's why it's so important that you are representing this, that blind
Mm,
spotting is representing what that looks like,
mm,
because it's it's far too many people to name,
yeah,
and it's still kind of a secret. I
yeah.
do a lot of pop-ups, and when I tell people about the statistics and that someone is being arrested every 90 seconds for
Wow.
cannabis in this country,
Mm,
people don't believe it. When I tell them, well, several people have life sentences for just cannabis,
mm,
they don't
wow.
believe it. Even with my sentence, when I told my mother what my sentence was, I feel like to this very day, she still thinks you did something else,
Mm, wow.
because
Wow.
it's that hard to believe that a first time nonviolent cannabis conspirator receives a mandatory minimum of 10 years.
Wow.
I didn't even
That's
know. They don't even speak in years, they speak in months. I say
right.
either only mothers of newborns speak in months and judges speak in months. And I didn't
Wow.
even know what 120 months really. I had to ask my attorneys, like, what
Wow.
is that? Like, it didn't even register that it was a 10-year sentence.
And what are some of the, and I know this question might be pretty wild, but I think um our separation from, the people in our lives who are incarcerated is so much bigger than just the wall and so much bigger than just um, locks and guards and barbed wire and all the madness. Can you sort of talk about some of the separation? And you even hinted on it, even just like a relationship with a parent where that changes and your relationship with driving changes and your relationship with, like, what are some of those things that um I think like you've had to fight to have back, or you've had to come into a space of acceptance of having let go of, or not having access to in the same ways.
Just the luxury of average everyday things,
Mm,
um, the luxury of, and the right actually to go and protest. You know, when I got home in 2019, around there, Black Lives Matter, the whole movement was happening.
mm,
And the old me would have been front and center, organizing, but because of my situation and where I am in life with a felony, I can't afford to have that interaction. I can't afford to be in those spaces anymore.
mm,
So just losing that luxury
mm.
to exercise your rights. Some people, luckily, I was able to vote in California,
Right.
but I also met a young lady at an event who has been fighting because she did register to vote with a felony.
Mm,
So across lines, it's different rules for different states, and
Okay.
just that separation. Also being able to be friends with who you want to be friends with. I did a long time in prison.
Mm,
In those years, those relationships are what sustained me,
mm,
helped me get through hard times. You know, a really great person helped me get through the death of my father.
mm,
So to now be on paper, uh, on supervised release, and not be able to have contact with these people who essentially have served as your family.
mm.
You're with these people 24 hours a day. There is
Wow.
no alone time.
And now you can't, you're not allowed to interact with
Had,
them,
right, right.
have
It's
contacts.
actually a violation to
Wow.
be uh, in contact with other people with felonies, and that's a hard that's a hard thing to um, have to sit with,
Mm,
because these people are part of the reason. Several people are part of the reasons that I actually made it out the other side.
mm,
Because you have days in there that you feel like you might not make it. So I've noticed an interesting dynamic with Earl and his dad,
mm.
and I'm wondering. I know you can't tell me what that's about, but what is that about? In my eyes, I'm picturing this shame that I came out with.
Mhm.
Um, People expected more of me.
Yeah, yeah. Um, you know, Earl's navigating parole and being in prison is so much so what your experience is in terms of the psychology of it, because I have had other people in my life who have gone through the carceral state and talk to me about what that means and what that looks like. And so for Earl and his father, it's definitely also the shame. It's not even Earl's shame. And I think that's sometimes is the hard part about that relationship is it's not it it's everyone else is telling you you should be ashamed. And I think that that's sort of that's the troubling relationship that you hope to push through and that you hope to try to do something about. Um, and so I think, yeah, with Earl, we somehow get to a place where he's having to confront that head on. So I can try to say all the right things, but I think the most important thing that I want to say right now is just like I deeply appreciate your vulnerability. I deeply appreciate your work, your willingness to share with us. It's no small thing. If there's anything that you could have people do right now after watching this, what would that thing be?
Make your voice heard. Um, Vote in our interest. Go to the lastprisonerproject.org, take action page, sign a petition, Pardons to Progress, asking governors to take action on the state level. There's the federal level, which we need President Biden to be active on, but the state level, it's up to the governors, and we need to make our
Mm,
voices heard and let them know that this is what the country wants.
mm,
It's like
yeah.
67% of the country don't want people incarcerated for cannabis,
Mm,
want it legalized across the board.
yeah. Yeah.
So,
And
with
some sort
that
of
being said,
restitution for
yeah,
folks. Restitution, we need and get these people some bread. You know what I'm saying?
you know what? I'm happy to get them out first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Last Prisoner Project, we work with reentry grants to help people. So, if anybody out there does it has a loved one incarcerated. There's just so many ways that we try to step up and help. So,
Word, word. Thank you, Stephanie, so much for taking the time. Again, y'all go do all the things. Go to Last Prisoner Project, please. It doesn't take that much. It just takes being aware, and you're now aware because y'all have watched the interview. So thank you again, Stephanie, for your time. And yeah, go peep Blind Spotting on STARZ. It's coming out soon.
of course, thank you.
Yeah,
Keep doing a good job.
I will. Thank you. Bye bye.